Welcome back to Quantum Health Transformation. My name is Karen Holton, and I developed the 9 steps to quantum health transformation in order to help myself. I was sick, I was grossly overweight, and I had a lot of depression and health issues, and I needed to get myself sorted out. So as I did my process of getting myself sorted out, I kept track of the different things that I did, organized it into 9 steps, which I'm presenting to you today. Actually, today we're covering Step 3, Quantum Health Transformation, Step 3, Indigo, Understanding and Using Perception within the Construct, and Manifesting Change, Seeing is Believing. This 9-step series started off with Step 9 Black. They're meant to be watched in descending numerical order, but seriously, you could just take whatever step resonates with you and go for it. Watch my videos and see what ideas you come up with for yourself, for your own journey, and for your own program of self-healing. So I won't run through the steps today because I pretty much do that at the beginning of every video, and I just sort of want to get on task today. I have a bachelor degree in social work, and I specialized in family counseling and in addictions. And I have a diploma in women's studies where I got to investigate issues from the oppressed perspective rather than from the perspective of the oppressor. I know it's a mouthful, don't worry about it. Anyway, let's get on to the program today. I have covered each step in a slideshow primer, which is actually meant to be watched first before the live action videos. The primers contain all the details, very logically laid out in sort of note form with some graphics to illustrate. And then the live action videos are me just getting up doing what I do, talking about how the different steps or the information from the primer, how it played out in my life, giving you examples on how I use the information that I'm presenting to you today. So without further ado, I've got my little tiny script here. This is my script. I know, not very big, because I don't do so good with scripts. So I've just got my general ideas down here, and I'm just going to wing it, so bear with. Okay, in Step 3, this is a bit of a mouthful here. What it actually means is if we go into that place within ourselves and we focus on what we really, really want, what our true heart's desire is for us, without any moral judgments like are we worth it or do we deserve it, or is it even possible? Just going to that place within and going, I believe this is possible for me. And then creating a mental image in our imagination. We've been taught that our imaginations are basically a place where things that don't exist go. And so the physical reality is where the things that do exist stay, and our imagination is relegated off into fantasy or fiction, as it were, where I believe that the imagination is a very, very powerful tool, and that it was given to us for a purpose, or we developed it for a very distinct purpose. And that is to help navigate our journey through reality and help us to understand things that are bigger than what we do see around us so that we can strive for something different. And also to give us a component of self-control within this environment where we so often, especially in modern times, feel totally out of control. So getting back to this, imagining what your heart's desire is. First you need to find out what your heart's desire is, and then you need to imagine what that might look like for you, almost as though we're stepping inside of another reality where we have full creative potential. And once we've viewed that thing that we want, we can then go on to make it possible for us. Now I want to say another thing. Besides the division between fiction and nonfiction, which by the way is a man-made political definition, I have to laugh because often what's classed as fiction is more real to me than the nonfiction they claim to be real. There's also been a splitting off in times gone by between the seen and the unseen. And the seen, the things that we're seeing, things that you can physically touch, and we can all agree this is here and this is what it looks like. Those things were relegated to the secular world, whereas the things that are unseen were relegated to the religious world. And personally, I think this is all a bunch of poppycock. I think everything is all combined and everything is all one great, magnificent production or show that's going on. And I think we have a lot of creative potential. And I'm going to use some examples, oops, where'd my script go? From my own life to show you why I believe this is possible. So I'm going to go sort of in order of things that I have manifest or that I commonly manifest for myself, from very short little things to some really big accomplishments in my life. So the first one I want to tell you about is Mrs. Bernstein. And I want you all to make full use of anything you hear from me today. Mrs. Bernstein is there for everybody. And everybody I tell about my story about Mrs. Bernstein too, when they start using it, Mrs. Bernstein works for them too. So it's going back to seeing is believing. And it's a really fundamental cornerstone to manifesting and bringing about your heart's desires. So Mrs. Bernstein is we affectionately call her a parking spot goddess. And this idea is not something I created. I heard about it from my brother James, who heard about it from somebody else, and we just keep passing it out there. So whenever we're in a place where parking is difficult to find, and I'm talking about rock star parking, which is right in front of the door of the venue you want to go to, or perhaps within a half a block. If it's pouring rain, definitely closer. But basically, you need a parking spot and you need it to be fairly convenient to where you want to go. And this is really important in cities. Okay, so all we do is within a few blocks of getting to our destination, we just say out loud, Mrs. Bernstein, please find us a really good parking spot. And lo and behold, I have been using this technique now for 10 years, and I have never failed to find a parking spot. If it's not rock star parking right outside the front door, it's within a couple of stalls of where I want to be. And it works no matter how busy the season is, what the weather is like. It doesn't seem to matter. Mrs. Bernstein comes through. And she comes through so much for me that I've even gotten to the point where I'm looking for a parking spot. I don't even have to ask. It's right there. I pull in, but I always say, thank you, Mrs. Bernstein. So Mrs. Bernstein is a creative imagery that we've made so that we could find ourselves parking spots. I know, it sounds a little hokey, but I swear it's true, and I suggest you give Mrs. Bernstein a try for yourself. The second thing I want to talk about is changing the entire environment when you leave your home because you want it to be different. And I'll give you an example that I have used more than once, and it involves going shopping at Christmas time. I know it's another parking lot story, but actually it's much more than that. So I had a day where it was like a week before Christmas, and I needed to go down to Walmart and I needed to get a few things. And I went, oh my God, usually you can't find a parking spot. The weather's usually crappy. People are in a big rush. Even though everyone's supposed to be happy, it's Christmas time, people are pretty grumpy and sometimes rude and pretty grabby with the merchandise. And the people that work in the shops tend to be kind of tired because they're overworked and underpaid. And but I decided this day I was going to go out and I was going to have a perfect day. Oh, my pussycat's meowing. I was going to have an absolutely perfect day. I was going to find a parking spot, no problem. Of course, I had Mrs. Bernstein to help. I was going to meet nothing but friendly people and cooperative people, including the clerks that work in the store and the people around it. I was going to feel good and I was going to feel happy. And so I'd imagine this in my mind's eye before venturing out, even out of the house. So I go out of the house, I drive down to Walmart, and no problem finding a parking spot. So I thought, well, that's probably because of Mrs. Bernstein, right? But I went into Walmart, and guess what happened? I found people were so friendly and so relaxed. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I had some trouble finding a couple of the items I was looking for, and I had perfect strangers coming and asking me if they could help me find what I was looking for. They didn't even work in the store. And so these people came, they were helping me look for stuff. I had no problem finding sales staff to help me find things. The sales staff was friendly. The whole atmosphere was so calm and so friendly. Now, I don't think it was just because it was Walmart. Walmart can be a pretty friendly place. But this was different. This was absolutely different. And I left that experience and I came home and I went, wow, I'm going to do that more often. I'm going to visualize that when I need to go out and run my errands and get things done, that I can actually do what I imagine doing ahead of time, and it makes my life so much simpler. And I've used this over and over and over again, and it absolutely works. Okay, so this is a really short examples. A bigger example. I wanted to improve some of my relationships with people who are near and dear to me, people who I really care about. And I was concerned because things weren't going very well with them. And so I decided that what I would do was use my imagination and visually imagine that these people, or person, I did it one person at a time, I was having a wonderful relationship with them. Now, my imagination was not busy recreating them as a different kind of person, because I don't think we can do that. I think that people are who they are, and they've got their own creative journey, and they're creating their life the way they want it, and it's not for me to say, oh, well, you know, they're too tall, or they're too short, or they need to be quieter, or they need to be louder, or whatever. Okay, so I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is the end result. I saw the end result as a possibility in my mind's eye. So I saw it was my heart's desire. I went into my imagination. I created it how I wanted it to be. So not so much detail-oriented, but more feeling-oriented. The feelings I wanted to have when I was with this person, the type of relationship, the energy of the relationship, how I could see that I wanted it to be. And then I believed that that was possible. And I just stuck to the vision. Whenever I was around that person and things were sort of going back to the way they were before, I would just think of how I envisioned them to be. And in the beginning, when you're manifesting, it's probably best to look for what you would call just noticeable differences. So manifestation isn't always huge, big, whammo, the perfect parking spot, or the bills being paid all at once because you win the lottery. Sometimes it comes about incrementally, as though a cog is slowly being able to turn, and then it turns faster and faster until you get what you want. Today I can honestly say I always get emotional when I make these videos, but I can honestly say that every single person who mattered to me now, that I wanted to improve my relationship with, I absolutely improved my relationship with them. Not just to the point that was my heart's desire, even beyond that. Even beyond that, what happened was these people just, I can't even explain it, but my relationships with them are fabulous, better than I ever even dreamed possible. And I believe it was because of me taking my heart's desire, putting it into my imagination, and creating how I wanted it to be, and then believing that that was possible for me. Got more stories for you. My house in Sointula. Okay. In Quantum Health Transformation, Step 5, green food, in the live action video component of this step, I talked about being up in Sointula as a single parent at one point in my life, and how a neighbor came forth, basically shot a bear, and my little story about how we ended up processing that bear and it serving as food for us. Okay, shortly after that, my husband and I had bought a beautiful old heritage home up in Sointula, but we didn't think to investigate the kind of things that should have been investigated before we bought the house. To make things even more complicated, my husband, once he moved myself and the two children up, decided, it's a long story, I won't get into it, but decided he wasn't going to live in the house with us. And so my marriage ended while I was in Santula. This was very upsetting for me, very upsetting for the kids. A huge transitional point in my life. So I was already feeling the stress from this, not to mention the isolation, because I had lost a lot of the community that I had depended on for support and for all the things we depend on community for. Okay, so one of the things we didn't investigate before we bought the house was the sewer system. There was no sewer system. There was, all the drainage pipes from the house went down to one big drainage pipe that went out under the ground, underneath this little gravel road that was between the house and the beach, which is so picturesque, which is why we bought the house in the first place. And it just all dumped on the beach. And then I found out that everybody's sewer was the same, and all the sewer was just being dumped on the beach. Boy, it sure wrecked my idea of paradise in a hurry. But that's not the worst part of the story. Something happened, I don't know, between the house and the beach, and the pipe backed up, and it flooded up the basement. So not only was a lot of stuff that I had in the basement ruined, but the water wasn't going to go down and there was nowhere for the sewer to go. And so the health inspector determined that the house was not a fit place to be raising children. And so I had no choice but to leave the house. At the time I wasn't working, I was on my own with two kids, just split up with my husband, had a lot of health issues, which we've covered in various videos. And I didn't have work, and I didn't have money to get the house fixed or to get any kind of sewer remedy happening or to even pay the mortgage payments. I had no way of dealing with this situation. Well, the kids and I were actually homeless, basically living out of my car for a while until I found an apartment over in Port McNeill, which is on the big island of Vancouver Island. And I was absolutely worried sick about this house. One day we took the ferry back over to check out the house, make sure it was still standing. And here I had found that rats had moved in. And the rats hadn't just moved in, they had taken over. And you couldn't find a 2-inch or 1-inch spot anywhere in that house that didn't have rat feces, rat urine. And they had chewed through everything. And they had chewed through the walls, and they had chewed through wires, and the house was completely ruined. And personally, I had a lot of trouble coping with the whole thing. And then, as some of you know from my website and from my personal story, I have had addiction issues over the years, which I am finally free of today, thank goodness. It's been a while that I've been free from them, but back in the day, I was having some addiction issues with alcohol. And so I decided that I would go into treatment and get some help with it because I was very concerned about where my path was leading for myself and for my children. And before I went away, my mom came up to stay with the kids in the apartment, and before I went away, I was so stressed out about the house over in Santula. I just prayed, a heartfelt prayer and desire to please help me with this house, because it is way beyond anything I can look after. It is way beyond anything that I have a remedy for. And I can't do it on my own. And I needed help. And I didn't know where it was going to come from or how, but I needed it. And so I took my heart's desire and I put it into my imagination of seeing the house repaired. And I went on with taking care of my life journey. So I went into residential treatment, and I was there about a week, and I get a phone call. Oh, there's a part I forgot to tell you. Okay, what about insurance, house insurance? Okay, I had been dealing with an agency who did our homeowner insurance through a broker. And every year the insurance would have to come up for renewal. And if the broker found another insurance company that had a better rate for the same coverage, they would just send me the papers, I would sign them, and they would switch companies. Okay, this happened about the same time that the sewer problem happened. And so what happened is, because of when the dates of when the old insurance company was involved and when the new insurance company took over, there was a dispute on who was responsible to pay for the house. So the old insurance company said, yes, the damage occurred while you were technically covered by us. I mean, I should say the focal point or the initial thing, and that was that the sewer system failed while on their watch. But none of the damage happened while it was on their watch. And so the second insurance company, or the new insurance company who took over, said, well, we're not going to pay for the damages and the result of the focal point of this disaster, because that was another insurance company. And so the two of them argued and wouldn't pay out any money. It was very intensely stressful. Okay, so finally I had a lawyer involved, and the lawyer communicated with the insurance companies, and lo and behold, the insurance companies, between the two of them, decided that they would pay out a generous amount of, I can't remember the exact amount, but it was in the pretty close ballpark of about $675. What the heck am I going to do with $675? I couldn't put a septic system in for that. I might have paid for someone to come in and do some cleanup, but it really didn't do anything to help me with the situation. Okay, so fast forwarding, I'm down in residential treatment. I'm down there, and about a week into the program, I get a call from someone I had never met in Sontula. No, actually it was from the lawyer. He says, there's someone who's contacted us who wants to know if he might be able to work on the house. He has an idea that he thinks is going to work. It's going to take care of your problems. Can I give him your contact number? I said, sure, please do. So the fellow called me up, and he says, I was walking past your house, and he says, I don't know why, but it just kind of hit me. Gee, I bet you I could fix that sewer system and help this poor lady out. But he says, do I have permission to go inside the house and take a look around? I says, sure, of course you do. So he called me back a few days later. He says, yeah, I went through the house. It's a real mess, eh? I says, yeah, it's a real mess. I don't know what I'm going to do. He says, lady, I think I can help you. He says, listen, I won't charge you a whole lot. I'll charge you like, I forget, $20 or $30 an hour. He says, but I want to fix it. I want to make it right for you. And plus I could really use the money. Will you hire me? I says, yeah, I will, but I just want you to know that the work has to end at about $600, because there isn't any more than that, and I don't have it. He says, okay, I'll keep you posted. Well, to make a long story short, the guy went in and figured out how to unplug the sewer system so that it was working normally again. He contacted the health inspector and asked what was needed for the house to be deemed livable, inhabitable, healthy again. And it involved quite a process. He had to dung out the whole house, remove anything that attracted the rats. He had to sterilize with harsh chemicals, not just the floors, the walls, everything had to be cleaned. And then he repaired things, so the holes in the walls and all the damage that the rats had done and the water damage and everything. He repaired everything. And he calls me up and he says, I'm all done. He says, feel free to have someone come in and inspect it, and here's the health inspector's phone number. You can call him. It's all done. This took about 3 weeks. I was almost finished my program, ready to head home when this happened. He says, so can you ask your lawyer to please release the funds to me? I says, well, sure, but how much is this going to cost? He said $675. It was the exact Okay, I don't remember exactly how much he said, but it was, absolutely swear to you, it was exactly the amount the insurance company had given to me. So the sewer system was repaired, the house was fit to be lived in and clean again and fresh. Everything was repaired. When I went back and I walked through that house, I couldn't even tell that the disaster had occurred. It was amazing. So the guy had called me back and said, "It's just one or two little things I noticed in the house I'd like to work on, and I know you're out of money, but I noticed there was an old bicycle in the backyard. Do you mind if I just trade you for the bicycle?" And I said, "Sure." Anyway, to make a long story short, the second part of all of this is in Sontul. It's fairly isolated, and houses don't always sell. And they sometimes and usually don't sell right away. Well, as soon as this house was back to being inhabitable again, a real estate agent sold it almost overnight. And we got the exact price we needed to completely pay off the mortgage and completely be debt-free again, and any other bills that were tied into that process. And I was free. And I can't tell you how it happened, but I know there are forces that we don't see and we may not even believe in, but that doesn't mean they don't work. The absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. And you know, this was an amazing, amazing experience for me. I've got a very naughty sticky note. It doesn't want to stay here. So that's another thing that how I manifested. And now you'll notice that the technique I used with the house is not exactly the same as the details outlined in step 3, but you get the gist. The basic formula is having the heart's desire, recognizing it, creating in the imagination a scenario where it's possible and it looks exactly like what your heart's desire is, and then believing that that can happen for you. My final story I want to tell you involves my weight loss. If you've watched my videos and looked at my pictures, you can see that I didn't really lose weight till after I was 50 years old. Yeah, I'm no spring chicken. And I was able to lose 178 pounds of non-essential body fat through, of course, the steps which I've designed here, but also because it was my heart's desire. All the years that I spent being a large person, I'd look at myself in the mirror and I didn't recognize myself. Like, it's different if you're a big person and that's your identity and you've accepted that's who you are and you're happy with that, and you're pretty healthy and you can get on with your journey. That's different. But I looked out and I didn't recognize myself. I didn't know who I was. I knew I was different. I knew I looked different than the way I looked. And my heart's desire was for me to be a thinner, healthier person, more fit person. And it happened for me. And I've kept the weight off now for about 9 years and continue to get healthier. And it's amazing. It's a miracle. As far as I'm concerned, it's absolutely a miracle. Yeah, I paid my dues. Yeah, I had to alter how I saw the world, and I had to deal with, you know, my parts of my personality I wasn't happy with. I had to learn how to get grounded and how to take a look at my belief, what my beliefs were. I had to organize new beliefs. I had to deal with my male-female energies. I had to really get into detoxification. I had to change what I ate. I had to understand that the words I was using and my self-learning program needed tweaking. And ultimately, I had to apply law of attraction, which works very, very well for me. Not always as fast as I want it to, but I think in the long run, it takes as long as it absolutely should and needs to take for me to get the full benefit. So that's another thing about not expecting instant success. I've tried all kinds of things along my journey in the last, but when it came to seriously losing weight, I used a little tool. I don't know if anyone else has tried this, but I used an effigy of myself. I went out and bought a Barbie doll, that sort of resembled me. Of course, I don't look anything like Barbie, and nor do I necessarily want to, but the whole gist was she had long hair, and it was very light colored, and blue eyes like me, and skin tone similar to me. And I went out and I bought Barbie doll clothes that were the kind of clothes I wanted to wear, the kind of clothes that small people can wear and enjoy. And I went out and bought Barbie doll clothes, and I would dress my Barbies. And as I was dressing my Barbies, silly grown woman, actually, you know, in my 50s, playing with Barbies, but I was kind of, I can't really explain it, but that Barbie was like my effigy of myself. And so I took care of my Barbie, and I bought my Barbie the clothes that I wanted to wear. Well, later on I didn't use the Barbie anymore, and I haven't for some time. But it's kind of funny, the last couple of years, because I can get all my clothes from thrift stores and just dirt cheap, I've got a lot of clothes, which I enjoy very much, giving myself all the things I didn't have when I was young. And I realized, oh my gosh, most of my clothes were the same as the clothes that I had bought for my Barbie. And so there is something about the, I guess this is sort of like another step in the process, identifying your true heart's desire, seeing it in your imagination as I wanted it to be, which was me basically looking pretty much the way I look now. And then I had to believe that I deserved it, that it could happen for me, and I really got the belief thing happening. And then the next sort of step that you can take it to is creating ritual. And ritual seems to strengthen the vibration that you're sending out for what you want. And so my ritual, I have many, many rituals, but one of them was, of course, the Barbie doll was a ritual for me. So you can light a candle, you can set up a little place in your home where you have little things that symbolize where you want to go, symbolize abundance, symbolize whatever it is you want. Have pictures of your loved ones who you want to get along better with, whatever. It doesn't matter. I mean, there's just infinite possibilities of little rituals you could do. And the rituals kind of sort of send it off out into the universe and strengthen it. So those are my examples of how law of attraction works in my life. These are true, how they work. And there's so many other examples too that it would get a bit ridiculous, but for the sake of not making this video too long, well, that's about it. All the details, again, are on the primers. So go back if you haven't already done so and watch Quantum Health Transformation Step 3 Indigo. Have a look at that. It's one of the briefer ones, and get the details, and then hopefully I've inspired you to get out there and try to make happen what is absolutely possible for you. I've already started on Step 2, Violet, integration with higher selves. It's coming along really well. Actually, I should have that out really quickly. And then this one up here under the angel says, state of bliss and spiritual exercises. I want to just say one thing about the next 2 steps. Actually, these 3 steps, they have nothing to do with religion. You can keep whatever your religion is, whatever your morality, ethics, all of that jazz, whatever floats your boat, keep it. Don't throw out what works for you. Just add in new stuff. And then, of course, take some of the stuff that I'm teaching you and then just reapply it, repurpose it, as it were, in your own life. Repurpose it so that it fits better with the way you think and the way you see things. I want to draw your attention to the website. If you're watching this video off my website, you already know about it. But most of these videos were made before I had my website. And so I just want to draw your attention to it, www.KarenHoltonHealthCoach.com. You can read my blogs. You can subscribe to my blogs. You can watch my transformation videos. They're under, the blogs are under the My Blog tab, and the transformation videos is under the Transformation Video tab. Services is under the Services tab. Products is under the Products tab. The products, I don't have a lot of products at this point. I sell hemp seeds. Some people are going, yeah, but you can get them cheaper at Bulk Barn, and I'm going, they're not the same. They're not the same. People say, oh, I can get them cheaper at Costco. They're not the same. My supplier, Roger, he has a patented process for dealing with the husks on the hemp seeds. And so you're only getting the germ, and you're getting the chlorophyll coating on the germ, which is what makes the powder and the flakes super green the way they look. There is absolutely no husk, and so they are actually 2,000% cleaner than organic, because no one else has the same technology for removing the husks or for pressing them and removing some of the oil to make the type of protein that I have on my website. And so when people say I can get it cheaper somewhere else, I'm saying no, you can't. It's not the same thing, okay? So my supplier and whoever he supplies to has the real McCoy, and they are absolutely fresh. They haven't been sitting in a bin rotting for 2 years. They haven't been sitting in a warehouse for a year, 2 years. They're absolutely fresh. They're absolutely shipped right away. You get them. They're the freshest, cleanest hemp seeds that you can possibly get, with absolutely no artificial weighting. With a lot of them use the husks ground up so fine that they're just like dust powder mixed in, and they add to the weight. Well, there's none of that with these. So they're 2,000% cleaner than organic. Now you might go, well, how could that be? Because organic doesn't use any chemicals. Easy. Cross-contamination from all the other plantations and crops and things growing anywhere in the country or in the region. Seriously. So my hemp seeds are the best. Absolutely, they're guaranteed to be the freshest tasting hemp seeds you can possibly get, and they're reasonably priced. I also sell Zendone's Orgonite. These are orgone generators. Please feel free to watch my videos and learn more about them. And so that is my website, and I really hope that you'll check it out. Through the website you can subscribe to the blog, so they just come as I produce them. I haven't made really too many yet. I definitely want to make more. You can also email me through my website on the Contact Me page. You can, what else was I going to say? Oh yes, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel to get my videos. And on my YouTube channel, it not only has my videos, because I know they're already featured on the website, but it also has some of my favorite videos. Some videos that I have found on the internet that I found really, really helpful, and they might help you too, which would be a reason why you would subscribe to my YouTube channel. So anyway, I hope you're all having a wonderful day. It's springtime here. It's beautiful. The weather's getting warmer. And I've already got borage growing in pots on my patio, and I've already got lamb's quarters. And those are both wild plants, and wild plants, as you probably know from step 5, have absolutely more nutrition than supermarket food. And I'm really looking forward to enjoying them in soups and salads. And that's it. Take care, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again for the next video. Bye-bye.